I read an article today that implored coaches to repeat drills over and over and over again so that players can master the drill. I'm not sure this is the goal of using a drill. The drill serves a purpose, and the purpose should be to improve some skill or to increase the number of repetitions of some skill that is difficult to improve and or get sufficient number of repetitions in a more game-like activity, whether it's a full game or a small-sided game. That's really the purpose of a drill. You're taking something outside or away from the game in an effort to improve something very specific or to increase the number of repetitions. So you do a shooting drill because you figure that in a scrimmage situation during practice, you're not getting sufficient number of repetitions shooting because maybe you play, if you look at a typical high school game, a 32-minute game that really covers an hour and a half in real time, and players might shoot the ball 10 times, 12 times in an entire game. So probably not enough repetitions to really improve that skill. So you separate shooting away from the game, and you're able to get a lot of repetitions in a short amount of time. That's really the purpose of a drill. The goal is not to master a drill. So 2 years ago when I went and helped out with a middle school team, they started out and they were doing three-man weaves at the beginning of the season and with 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, many of whom had never played basketball before, so they were basically brand new. And so they were doing the three-man weave drill, and really in the first practice, it took 20 to 25 minutes just to learn how to do the drill. Not to do the passing part correctly or to work on passing, but just for them to know that every time they passed the ball, they ran behind somebody. Now, that's 25 minutes that was spent learning this pattern that has zero transfer to the game and zero ability to improve performance in a game. It was simply a drill, and the drill was there, to improve passing was the reason why this coach was using, the three-man weave, something that I'd probably argue with, but for the sake of discussion, let's say that it's an appropriate drill to use to improve passing skills. But they spent 20 to 25 minutes just learning this drill and not even worrying about whether or not they were passing correctly or their passing was improving, and not understanding that many of the passing mistakes that they were making were because they were being forced to throw passes that were too long for their strength level, because of the drill. So, do we need to spend more time on that drill to master the drill? Yes, it probably took 2, 3, maybe 4 practices before they mastered the drill, before we were actually really focusing now on the passing aspect of the drill and not just on whether or not we're running to the right spots. Now, is that 3 or 4 practices worth of time? 15, 20 minutes of each practice, so we're talking about 45 minutes to an hour of practice just to learn a three-man weave. Is that time well spent? And do we need to spend that time to master the drill? Does mastering a drill have any value? Now, it might. I think, especially with something like ball handling, I think mastering, some different two-ball drills has some effect on improving confidence with the basketball. That is probably debatable, and I think you could argue on either side. But I tend to believe that the confidence of learning something, going from not being able to do it to being able to do it, and with a two-ball drill or another kind of hard ball handling drill, it's easy to see that improvement and see yourself mastering that drill. I think that does improve confidence, and ultimately probably has a small effect on improving confidence with the ball during the game. But something like the three-man weave, do we need to master that? Is a player's career going to be negatively affected if they don't know how to do a proper three-man weave? I don't know. But to me, the important thing is not that we're focusing on whether or not we can master a three-man weave, but whether or not we can pass the ball. And that's really the skill that we want to train, whether we're using a three-man weave or some other drill. And so to me, if the drill is beyond the experience level or the capabilities of the players, then we should use a simpler drill or an easier drill that the players can learn more quickly, so we can spend more time focusing on the skill, passing in this case. Because ultimately we want to improve passing, and it doesn't matter what drill we use to improve passing. Passing and improve passing during the game is the objective. And if we spend all our time trying to master this drill, we may or may not ever get to improving the skill. And so I think the focus there is wrong. I think the focus needs to be on, getting sufficient repetitions and varying those repetitions so that we can improve in a game, and not worrying about whether or not we've completely mastered some drill, because that drill stays in practice. You do a drill in practice, it stays there. It's a practice activity. What you do in a game is transfer that skill that's been practiced into a game. And so that transfer of the skill is what ultimately is important. The drill is not important. The drill is basically a means to an end. And if it's not creating the desired end, then it's worthless in and of itself. And so we need to focus more on what skill are we trying to transfer, how do we want that skill to look in the game, and what drill can we use that will help us to facilitate this learning and this improvement in game performance, and not worry about whether or not we've mastered the drill or we're moving to a new drill too quickly. Because if they can pass the ball well in a three-man weave, well, why do we need to do the three-man weave the next day and the next day to get better at the three-man weave? That's not the goal. And instead, if we're making passes that we can already make, and we're doing it in this drill, so we can get better at the drill, well, we're not getting better at the passing now because we're doing something that we can already do. So as soon as we can complete the objective of the drill, so down and back without making a mistake, passing the ball, let's say, we need to move to a new drill. We shouldn't spend more time on that drill just so we can master it and get slightly better at a drill. We need to change the drill, probably make it harder or add some complexity to the drill so that we can continue improving the skill. All right, and so we can't get focused on drill mastery because drills are practice activities. That's not the point. The point is the skill and how the skill transfers to the game, and that's where we need to focus and decide whether or not we need to progress a drill, regress a drill, or how we can attack that skill to best enhance the performance to the game environment.